You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
And now your host of California MUFON Radio, Lorien Fenton.
Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We're here on New Year's Eve, and I hope you guys are having a great time out there. And I hope there's lots of people making noise, and I hope that 2015 is going to be wonderful for you folks out there. We're on Inception Radio Network, and I hope this is a good chance for me to ask everybody out there to become part of the Insiders Club. So I hope you're doing that. I hope you're becoming part of the great Insiders Club here at Inception Radio Network. Anyhow, I have Erica Lukes. So what are you doing for New Year's Eve this year, since we're time traveling in the show? What are you doing?
What I'm doing, I'm actually a professional vocalist, and so I have a gig, and I'm really excited. I have a jazz group I play with, and we are playing at a retirement community, which I barely do gigs anymore, but this is one that I just really want to do because I love people, and it will be great to play jazz songs to people that remember them.
Wow, that's amazing. And what kind of, do you guys do standards, or what exactly do you guys do?
You know, we do standards. I have always liked a little more obscure songs from the past. I'm a big fan of Peggy Lee. And so I love to do Peggy Lee, and Julie London and all.
Oh, yeah. Oh, oh boy, you're bringing back I used to listen to all of the Julie London songs and Peggy Lee's. I actually choreographed for my dance company to a Peggy Lee trilogy. Oh. And it was wonderful. God, you're bringing back memories for me. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, great. Now, how did you go from being a jazz vocalist to becoming involved with MUFON? How did that all start for you?
Well, you know, I've had such an eclectic life. I've always been pretty artsy. And, you know, I've had an interest since I was a small child in UFOs. And I remember picking up my first book on the subject when I was 6 years old. I have had a series of strange, I guess you could call them maybe paranormal events in my life. And most recently, I began to see, along with many other people in the Salt Lake Valley, some interesting objects in the Salt Lake sky. And this propelled me kind of into the path of joining MUFON and doing an investigation here in a little broader scope. And I became a field investigator and then state director, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. You know, it's interesting. So many people out there, including myself, we had an experience. And I didn't have just one experience like yourself. I've had many over the years. And I just think it's really fascinating that people find the organization and then decide how important it is to get involved and help, the rest of the world and their communities and just people around them. Do you guys hold meetings once a month or every other month or that type of thing in your area?
We do. And, we have, for a while after the Elaine Douglas kind of era of the Utah MUFON, MUFON disbanded. And so we had a lot of people that were formerly MUFON members scattered to the winds. And so we've been trying to pick up those pieces and encourage new membership and get the word out that MUFON is active and ready to roll in Utah again. And so we've got meetings. We're reaching out to new people all the time. And, we had a mass sighting on October 2nd.
Oh, wow. Tell us
Oh my gosh,
about that.
It was fascinating. So it was about 12:30 in the afternoon, Thursday afternoon, and I got a phone call from a reporter, and she just said, Erica, we've got some people, we're getting tons of calls, all these emails, people are posting pictures of these objects hovering in the sky, and we want to know if you have anything to say about it. And I, at that point, was at work, and so I couldn't, I didn't really have information right there. But then I ran home, got to my computer, and started noticing people, posting pictures of these objects, these white objects that were hovering over Salt Lake Valley and pretty close to the NSA building, which is interesting to me. And, so I got into Facebook. I took pictures, screenshots. I was trying to contact all of these people that were posting things on media outlets and just tried to put the pieces together. It's been an interesting experience. There was also a mass sighting in Colorado, and the objects were very, very similar. So that's been interesting.
Now, did you guys get a good description of these? You say they're white. And how many were there? And what were they glowing, or were they silvery, kind of metallic looking? What did the observers say?
Most of the observers said that they were white, but they almost had a bit of a metallic sheen to them, and they could see the sun reflecting off of the objects. They
wow.
The remarkable thing is they remained stationary for an hour, and there were 3 to 7 objects from different accounts. And then you have objects that would move in ways that weather balloons don't move. We have one witness that videotaped, this amazing footage, and it was odd. There were a couple things, because we've had the Google balloon theory going on, and I've been trying to figure out, was it a Google balloon? What was it? We didn't have any transponder data for Google balloons in the area the day of the sighting, and typically they will
Now, I'm going to ask you a dumb question. What's a Google loon? I've never even heard of this before.
Well, let me tell you, I hadn't either until we have this. I'm like, whoa. But I've quickly learned. So Google launched a new project a couple years ago, and they are flying these high-altitude balloons, and they are attempting to bring internet to remote areas of the world.
Oh, that's right. I do remember reading about that, but I didn't think you could see them.
Well, that's another good point. These things are flying typically at 70 to 80,000 feet above ground level. The objects that were witnessed in our skies were, we have reports 8,000 feet up to 30. So another puzzling question there.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And they were hovering, though. See, a Google loon would be moving. Wouldn't it be moving like a satellite moves?
They would be moving, but I believe that with the new Google loon technology that they can, they'll move up, and then depending on where the air is going, it will hover, and then they can shift and do all of these things that I'm just still learning about. And even if it is the balloons are subject to the wind, and so there would be a little movement. It would be very difficult, I believe, to have 3 to 5 objects hovering at the same altitude and then moving in unison. I think that's a little interesting.
Yes, that'd be very, well, maybe not, but bottom line to a Google loon, if they're going to keep that in stationary in one spot all the time, as like it's like a giant cell tower in the sky, let's say, it would have to be just in the same place. And they certainly wouldn't have 4, 5, or 6 of them together in one area moving all together. You're absolutely right about that.
And sorry to interrupt you. Another thing that's been interesting to me is Google is very, very concerned, and they make many comments about this, about public safety. They make it a point not to fly in areas or to launch the balloons in areas where you have an international airport, which is, or highly restricted airspace. And so, which is where these objects were seen. It was right on the flight corridor to the Salt Lake International Airport. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, that's wild. I love it. I love hearing this stuff. Well, we're going to move on to my next question. Your title is Utah State Director,
Yes.
right, Erica? And so what is your job? What do you do for MUFON as State Director?
I would say I'm kind of like Julie on the Love Boat or something. I'm the director. It's an interesting job. I love it because I reach out to people. That's my big thing. I first of all find field investigators and then make sure everybody's doing their job. I'm a field investigator, so I have to make sure I'm doing my job too. But I also am responsible for building membership, getting people active and involved, and doing, if I have any media things I need to do, I'll do that. And just, it's a pretty time-consuming thing to be, but I love it.
It is, and especially since we're all volunteers and we do take a lot of time away from our loved ones and do things. Now, I see that you have a daughter, because we were talking about that earlier, and I was helping you with the computer, and I saw her beautiful picture there on the splash page of your computer screen. And how does she feel about all this? Is she okay with it? Does she, go with you on field investigations?
Well, every night's a field investigation for me. So come on, honey, let's get the infrared goggles and go on the porch. She thinks she's so funny. She thinks that it's nuts. I think she has a lot of that pure kind of influence. You know how people are. They're very dismissive of this, and she gets that, but I'm hoping that she also gets the fact that this is something that is very real, and there are brilliant people all over the world studying this phenomena, and it isn't something where you're wearing your tinfoil hat and wanting to be beamed up.
Absolutely. And the kids nowadays, this is an interesting topic, so I'm going to stay on it for just a minute or two if we could. But the kids nowadays, they're just more lackadaisical about it. I think they absolutely just know in their hearts or absolutely believe that there are ETs, there are UFOs, and this is all part of the scene. But they're pretty young, and I don't think it's quite gelled into them until they're in their 20s and 30s that this is an unusual paradigm. I think because they grew up with it. I did not grow up with it being talked about or on TV or anything like that. The only thing we got were monster movies like Dracula and the Wolfman. So to them, I think they think it's real, but they don't understand why we're so obsessed with it. Because to them, it's just part of their life and their paradigm. And if it happened to them, I don't think they'd be nearly as freaked out as, let's say, my parents were.
I hope not, but I still see that societal kind of influence saying that, telling them that this is kind of a taboo, wacky, fringy subject. I
Really?
do. And maybe it's just because I live in Utah. I don't know.
Well, I live in Northern California and anything goes out here.
I'm moving out there.
I think that maybe our kids are a little more accepting out here just because of the climate. And, we've got gay rights started here in New York City. It's just one of those things where being different isn't that odd. Being different is kind of normal out here.
I love that. So. And I clearly am probably different in a sea of people that aren't. And that does make it challenging, especially being a business owner and a mom. And, you do get a little bit of flack and, what do you do?
Well, it's interesting. And I think MUFON, though, itself, and Ruben Uriarte and I were talking about that tonight on our special as well, is the fact that people are accepting MUFON more and more as a place to go because we have been around so long, and it isn't as woo-woo as it used to be. So I'm assuming that in Utah, MUFON can get to the people and kind of help them because we have been here. And like you said, it's scientific in nature, and we're now embracing more of the UFOs, the aliens, and the whole bit. And it isn't just about looking at a UFO in the sky anymore. We're encompassing it all. So I think that even in Utah or anywhere, MUFON would be looked to as a place to go if you're having some kind of, sighting or anything. And that's why that reporter called you. So there must be some kind of changes going on. That's all I'm trying to point out here. Because we're becoming more mainstream. Yeah, exactly.
And I really think that our new executive director, Jan, is making great strides, and with people like Roger Marsh and all of these people actively involved in getting the word out and really pushing us to the new level. I think it's fantastic. And, for me personally, too, I went to my first symposium this year, and I have to tell you that the people I met, I will love my whole life. I mean, I have never met so many amazing people. And I came home and I was just telling my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, you would never believe these smart and, people that are just really literally the most down-to-earth people I've ever met. And these are people that, like, have worked their whole lives for, volunteering to get information out and to spend hours talking to witnesses on the phone and to visit locations on their own, dime. So it's a really phenomenal group to be involved with, and I'm really proud.
I agree with you totally on that. And that's another thing we're talking about this evening as well is, I don't know if your meetings, you guys go out for dinner afterwards. I'm sure you probably do.
We actually, our assistant state director, her name is Marley Spenlove, and she's been doing this forever in Utah, and she has a potluck at her house.
Oh, cool. So you guys are actually there having dinner after the meeting. Yeah. Is that correct? Or you're eating while your meetings go? Well, whatever the case may be, you guys are meeting and you're breaking bread together. You're looking each other in the eye and you're all talking amongst yourselves. And to me, that is the most important camaraderie on this planet right now that's going on about a subject that needs attention that's not really getting it in the academic community. And it is a bit more so in the scientific community, but I really believe that the academic community has a long way to go into supporting us. And I think they're getting there, slowly but surely. But bottom line to all this is we all have each other. And like you just said, you met the most amazing people at the symposium and had a great time and have lifelong friends now. And that's what I think every meeting is about at MUFON.
Incredible. I mean, personally. I feel, and I love people. I love to be around people, and especially, in this field, you have people that, have been ridiculed, especially those who have had abduction experiences. And so it's very intimidating for them to go anywhere and to talk about it. And I think it is such an important part of supporting people that have had these experiences, and just even people that have had sightings. This is a really big thing for somebody to take the time to report it. It's very intimidating. So it's good to support.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't even made my sighting report yet. I finally had my very first UFO sighting on 11/1. And after all these years, it's amazing to me. And Eric, I got to tell you a funny story about that. Everybody here at the show knows this, so I'm just going to make it brief. But basically, I was in the car driving to my meeting on the 1st of November, and I made a conscious decision in the car that I wasn't going to do this anymore. I was going to quit. That was going to be the end of it all, because it's been a struggle this last couple of years. And I needed time to get a real job and have a real life. So I made that decision. That evening, someone coaxed me into going back to the site where we have our meeting. And there were 7 of us there looking through a night vision goggle. And two of us were standing back and kind of like ignoring it because we're in the city. You can't see anything, right? So we're just kind of laughing at them, and we're standing back, and we're kind of looking up, and all of a sudden a giant black triangle UFO appears. And it like decloaks above us. And it's kind of high up in the sky, but not that high up in the sky. I mean, I was surprised at how low this thing was. And probably 10,000 feet, maybe. And it looked like it just taken, maybe less, maybe 5,000 feet. It looked like it just taken off from an airport and was leaving a major metropolitan area.
Wow.
That's how low it was. Yeah. And another woman saw it with me, and I started screaming for everybody in the group, look, look. And they're all looking through this night vision goggle up at the sky straight above them instead of at 45 degrees in the horizon. Right. So her and I were the only two that saw it, but it was my first sighting, and I just had to laugh because there's a major component to the whole UFO thing that I think people really need to grasp, and I've been grasping it for a while now, and that is that whatever is controlling the UFOs, whether it be alien entities or our government or I don't know who's doing it, but whatever it is, they also have access to our thoughts. I know that sounds really weird, but man, they have on so many occasions put thoughts in my head, or I'll have a thought and they will show up. And people really need to start grasping that. I think that's our next step, is understanding the interface. First we went for, okay, there's UFOs. Second, we went to, okay, there's aliens interacting with us. Now I think our next big step is to say, okay, we know they're here, we know they're doing this, but how are they communicating with us, and on what level, and how can we communicate back?
And I think that is so right. I know from my own personal experiences, I felt that what I was seeing was empathetic. I felt a connection to it. I can't explain it. I felt comfortable. It was the weirdest thing. But I knew that it knew I was there and connecting, and you can't really explain that, and I can't scientifically prove that now, but it was my experience, and it was very profound for me. So,
right, exactly, and that's what everybody says. Everybody who has abduction experiences, whether they're good or bad or whatever, we all agree on one thing: there is a definite interface going on between our consciousness and their consciousness. So anyhow, I think that's our next step in evolution for MUFON, and we're just, we're growing just like every other organization out there that deals with this kind of thing. The questions are always like, where do you go next? And what are you studying next? And how are you studying it? So yeah, interesting. Okay. So we've covered your job title and we know what you're doing there. So, what happened with MUFON this last year that was really significant other than the big sighting that you got the phone call from the reporter about?
I did an abduction investigation actually up near Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah.
Really?
I mean, I am telling you, that place is everything you've heard and more. It was so amazing to me to speak with people that are the salt of the earth. I mean, people that are working in the oil fields, ranchers. These people don't want to come forward. They have no reason to, but they had genuinely phenomenal experiences. And it's Skinwalker Ranch is alive and well. So that whole area is got some great stuff.
Well, can I ask you a favor? At some point, I'm going to take a good friend of mine named Plutronus. We were going to go up there. He knows where it is because he's actually been there. He was working with, I think, Bigelow at the time. He can't tell me about any of this. All I know is he said someday he might go out there with me. So if we do, would you like to be our tour guide, and would you guys mind being recorded for a special broadcast?
Would be absolutely the best. I would love to. And you could meet this, some of the people that I've met up there and talk to them. It was fantastic. And I have to say that we did on the one of the nights we were there, we did go up to the famous gate of Skinwalker Ranch, and it was they turn on the spotlights, and they've got the megaphones and get off the property, get out of here now. And then they unleashed, 2 of their guard dogs that came running after us, even though the guard dogs were probably 100 years old. I ended up, instead of being, kind of shocked, I'm like, oh, cute doggies. That's so cute. But it was, and I videotaped the whole thing because I'm like, I have to get this on video. It was pretty wild. Kind of makes me.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Well, we'll definitely have to make a fun weekend of it, or, something at least. I'll definitely come up now. The other topic I needed to ask you about is, what have you got in store for 2015 with MUFON? Because we're running out of time. I can't believe it. I just looked up and it's like we're almost done. So what have you got going on for 2015?
I'm hoping to get a little more attention focused with the media here, because there is such there's a large amount of things happening here. And I think with Dugway Proving Grounds, the NSA, and that's my goal, to get people to pay attention to what's happening in Utah.
Wonderful. That's great. And how many members do you have right now up at your particular meetings that you go to? What's your average attendance?
We actually, with our meeting, we had it was only 15, but it was 15 really fabulous people. And so...
That's great. That's fine. I mean, a lot of these meetings run from 5 to 50 people. Some of the LA ones get up to 100, depending on who the speaker is, but it's all important to know that they're still growing. And that's what it's all about. There's a different
face in the crowd. And so that's really important to me. So I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this has been wonderful. I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight. And I'll have you on for a whole evening some night, and we'll talk about Skinwalker Ranch. How does that sound?
Your calendar and get out here.
Yeah.
Patronus.
Oh, yeah. So that'll be that will be something for the books. I'll tell you what, we're going to videotape it too. So that'll be just crazy, because he is a wild guy. He's building a UFO detector for your house.
Oh.
Yeah, wait till you meet this guy. He's absolutely brilliant. It's amazing. So great. Well, thank you so much, Erica. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you really soon. Have a great New Year's and happy 2015.
Happy New Year to you.
Okay,
Bye.
Great. Bye-bye.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin. Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Just a reminder that Inception Radio Network is on Twitter. Follow us at I_R_N and keep up to date about who's on tonight, what interviews they'll be doing, who's guest spotting, what topics they'll be covering. Tweet to us, tweet about us, retweet topics to your friends, and most importantly, never miss a great show again. That's I_R_N.
Do you have a smartphone? If so, Inception Radio Network is the best app for you. Available on iTunes, Android, Samsung, and most other app stores. Just search Inception Radio Network. With the app you can listen live, check out podcasts of recent and past shows, view our videos, see what shows are coming up, who the guests are, and, via the chat room, send live questions to those guests. You know it makes sense. Check your app store now. Inception Radio Network. I'll see you there.
Hello, IRN listeners. This is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called DreamNuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DreamNuage.com. Simple, raw, organic.
Hello, I'm Pat Ustford, inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com.
EPIC is Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council, the forum for scholars, experts, and those fascinated by and involved in the study of ancient civilizations, conspiracies, cryptozoology, ETs, and UFOs, fringe science, the paranormal, and all manner of extraordinary phenomena. Please join EPIC as we examine the mysteries of the world and beyond on epicvoyagers.com, and for updates on the upcoming interactive video presentations, the latest news and discussion on the EPIC forum, as well as research, investigations, and membership opportunities. Epic Voyages program schedule is on the Inception Radio Network. Thank you for joining us.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's epicvoyagers.com.
Hello, everyone. Lorien Fenton here, host of the California MUFON Radio Show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today. Welcome, everyone, back to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We have our second guest with us here this evening on our special edition of New Year's Eve MUFON style, as we're calling it at this point. I hope you're all having a great evening. And my second guest this evening is a good friend of mine. It's Ruben Uriarte. And he is the Northern California State Director. And he's one of the few people that knows about all my craziness, because I walked up to him at a UFO conference and said, "Guess what, Ruben? I'm starting a MUFON meeting." And he just looked at me like I was kind of like out of my mind. But we've had a good relationship ever since, and I really adore the man. And I'm so happy he's here with me tonight on the special edition of California MUFON Radio here at Inception Radio Network. So, Ruben, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm wishing you and the audience, the listening audience, a happy new year, one that will bring many wishes and dreams.
Oh, yes. I hope so. I hope 2015 is better than last year for all of us. Boy, I'll tell you what, I've had a tough year, but how about you? Yeah. How was your 2014?
Oh, it's been I've had some ups and downs, but overall, I've feeling like it's been overall it's been a good year. I'm really grateful for many of the friends and many of the opportunities that have come my way, and so I'm definitely keeping a positive approach for 2015.
And I've been dying to ask you this, and I keep forgetting when I see you in person. How's retirement for you?
Oh, the retirement's been very good. It's been very interesting for me because, on the home front, I'm helping taking care of my mother, and then also professionally, in terms of in this field of ufology, it's been very busy for me. It's amazing how busy it is. So it's almost like when I had my regular job Lorien. I had to work around a very crazy work schedule, and I tell you the truth, I don't know how I got things done. I trying to maintain my own private life and then my working life, and also being involved in MUFON. And as you know, I've been working with Noe Torres on publishing a number of books. And we've been working together on what's called the border zone conferences. This is where we've been putting together conferences at certain cities along the U.S.-Mexico border. And I just looked back and said, how in the heck did I do all that?
I know.
And so what the cool thing about being retired is you do have a little more choices and also a little bit more freedom to do things. And you just need to use your time wisely, because what I'm finding is time is so valuable, and we only have, life is short, so we need to learn how to use it toward our advantage.
Absolutely. And I was always amazed at how you got things done too. I thought there were two of you at one point. I was like, oh, there's got to be two Rubens running around, one in this dimension and one in the next one. Doing all this work, because I'm telling you, I couldn't believe you could do that and keep you had crazy hours. You were working like 60 hours a week. I don't even know how you managed.
Oh yeah, we've like a lot of people out there, we go through a lot of changes in our jobs, and then I lost my main job. I used to work at a school district, and I was unemployed for approximately 2 years, but I did some consulting work. And then I worked the last 5-6 years in the field of security. I worked as a security specialist at a large pharmaceutical company.
What we've never talked about, Ruben, is how did you get involved with MUFON?
Well, I'm going to have to. There are two people I need to give a lot of credit to, and one is Whitley Strieber, and the other was Bud Hopkins.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the way I got to know about MUFON really was through reading the book Communion and Missing Times. I was, through curiosity, I had picked up the book Communion. There's a whole very interesting journey about that book, because I first read about Missing Times and Communion in the newspaper, that there was going to be a book about abductions. I said, wow, this is interesting. I wonder what this is about. And then within a year, I saw these two books in Calistoga, charming little town, in a bookstore. And they're hardcover, and I'm looking at those and said, oh, and I was really being drawn to them. And then finally, I didn't buy the books. And then later, I'm standing in a long line at a counter in Safeways. And while I'm in the line, I look over, and there's a book rack, and there's happened to be a soft cover copy of the of Communion. So I reach over and grab the copy, and I said, okay, I'm going to buy it. And then I hear people in the background mumbling, and they're saying, yeah, they say it's real. Oh, they say they look like them, and I heard that. So I bought the book.
Oh, wow.
I bought the book, and then gradually, Whitley Strieber's talking about his experience, and he mentioned MUFON. I said, that's interesting. I'd like to learn more about that. And then I found out that there was a MUFON meeting across the bay. So I went to it and met some very nice people. And then from there, I said, well, this is something I want to do. And so I joined. And then I later became a field investigator and I worked up the ranks. I later became an assistant director for Northern California. And then later I was appointed director of Northern California. And then and I have some other roles that I'm also involved in terms of international affairs, because we're working with other countries. But that's been at least 25 years so far. I've been involved in.
Wow. That's amazing. I had no idea. So, and Bud Hopkins, his book came out about the same time, if I remember
Yes,
correctly.
back in 87, 88, I believe.
Yeah,
And the irony is,
yeah.
well, finally I got a chance to meet these gentlemen and really became very good friends with Bud Hopkins. He was a speaker. I've heard him, and also Whitley Strieber. So I thank those two gentlemen for helping me to become motivated to join MUFON.
That's amazing. Wow, cool. Well, okay, that kind of leads me to my next question. What's your title with MUFON and what is your job? In other words, we kind of know you're the director, the Northern California director, but what is your job as director of Northern California? What
Well,
do you
we
do?
have a couple of roles. A lot of people that are directors carry a administrative role, and I work closely with a number of key people in our group here in Northern California. My assistant director is Devlin Rugney, and she is also the chief investigator. And we work closely with our field investigator team. Now, she does a number of investigations, but she also allocates the assignments to our field investigators. So when issues do come up, or I kind of oversee certain issues, or if they need any resources in that, I'm like the go-between guy to make sure we can contact headquarters or find the resources from someone else. So the administrative role is very important in the long run because you're the guy that if anything does go wrong, then you're the gentleman or the person that needs to try to correct it or ask for help. Um, but also, I'm also in charge of meetings for our South Bay in San Jose. I've been doing that for approximately 20 years now. We've been running our meetings in San Jose. We have them every other month. Also, I do a lot of communications with other directors throughout the state. Um, yeah, and then also work on trying to increase our membership. I attend events. I'm also do a lot of PR for MUFON, Lorien. Many times I'll get asked to make a presentation about MUFON or about the whole field of the UFO phenomenon and my role in it, and so whatever I do, I try to promote MUFON in that respects. And
Absolutely.
also
Yeah.
and also it's just networking too. It's just amazing the amount of people out there who've had a lot of similar experiences, and they're all wanting answers. They're all wanting to know if this is something that is really occurring to them, and because it could be a very, as you know, very shocking experience for someone who does it just happens to be walking and then all of a sudden they see something that's totally out of the realm of reality. So I get calls sometimes too from people that are needing help. And I happen to be also a board member with Opus, the Organization for Paranormal and Understanding Support. And because there's a big need for people who've had these kind of experiences that need to go somewhere and to perhaps get some counseling or get hooked up to a support network. And I was busy. I was amazed. I got like 3, 4 calls one day, and people from different parts of the state. I mean, of the United States, because people can get in touch with me because my name is on the website or my phone number, and so I do. So I do get a lot of
Right,
calls, and
right.
then I'll if need be, I'll refer them to the appropriate state if possible. But many times it's like a 1-800 crisis calls number. Sometimes I get those, but again, it just
Exactly.
tells me that something very unusual has been occurring, and it is impacting people's lives. And if we can get to what it is, if there is an agenda, what are these supposedly visitors that are coming here? What are they doing here? What is their mission?
Well, you bring up a very important subject close to my heart, and that is that MUFON is evolving. And this is something I've been trying to get across to people for, 5 years now, is the fact that people go, Lorien, what are you doing being involved with MUFON? Aren't they the people who, are hiding secrets and doing all these weird things? And I'm like, you guys don't understand. MUFON is evolving just like everything else, because it isn't always just about lights in the sky anymore, as people say. It's a lot about the experience. And that's the great thing about MUFON. They realized years ago that they needed to address not just seeing the UFOs in the sky, which we do keep a great database covering all the sightings throughout the United States, and maps and show, how many sightings were here and how many months, and all throughout the month, and what size and shape they were, and the whole bit. And that's wonderful, and I love that. I think that's super important to know where the ships are showing up. But it's also important to understand that MUFON has evolved to the point where we have a board that has a hypnotherapist on it and people to help them, and Opus is part of it, and people like Barbara Lamb and Yvonne Smith, and the list goes on and on. Kathy, yes, exactly. The list goes on and on about people all over the United States reaching out to help the people who are calling Ruben and saying, I saw this craft in my yard, and then there were these people in my bedroom. We're dealing with both aspects now.
And the other
Don't
thing
you
is,
agree,
there's
Ruben?
a lot of smart people that are involved in our organization. I'm just amazed that these are people that have worked for Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, for example, or within the government, or they're scientists. They have a specific a field that can be very, very useful and within the MUFON ranks. So we got some very sharp people that I feel that, these guys, it just blows me away. I said, God, many years ago, our focus was trying to recruit people with PhDs and BAs and whatever. But then again, that doesn't take away either. We have a lot of people that are also they have regular jobs, or from housewives, which I think that's a full-time job. That's a major job.
Well, that's a major job in itself. I don't even have time to be one of those, Ruben.
You get people from. It's just what I enjoy is the diversity of people from all walks of life, and when you combine them, I think it's. This whole aspect of the UFO phenomena, I think it just unites people. It really does. There's a common bond there, and that's what I find so fascinating. Is could be many differences among the people, but when you bring up that whole subject about the UFO, then there's a big common bond there, and that's the thing that I've been finding when working with people, even from so many other cultures and that in the United States as well as throughout the world.
Absolutely. And, even just in our little tiny world that we live in here in Northern California, just at our Christmas party, there were people of all ages getting along and having a great time together and discussing their experiences, and there's no judgment. And, that's one of the great things about the MUFON meetings, which I really love. And I love putting them on for MUFON. I enjoy that. I love being a spokesperson here on the radio show for MUFON, because it's really important that people get together. And I say this every week on my show when I tell people to become a member of MUFON. It's really important. The one thing I say to them, Ruben, is that they've got to go to a meeting and look other people in the eye that are having the same experience and share. Because when you start doing that, it changes everything for you and also for the other people around you. They need information too. It's super important that we all get together physically and talk about these things in person. And my favorite part of the month, Ruben, is after our meeting, we go to the restaurant, the Lumberjacks restaurant in Petaluma, California. And I look down the table and there's like 20 some odd people sitting there, maybe 30. And they're all talking to each other, and they're all ages. I've got guys that are in their early 20s, all the way up to women that are in their 80s, and men in their 80s. And it's just amazing to me that they're all sitting there side by side, having the greatest time together, talking about their experiences. and they all
Yes,
feel like they're
we
family.
also do that too. At my meetings, we get together afterwards, and it's just a
Absolutely.
camaraderie. And then if I have a speaker, then many times we'll invite the speaker, for dinner, and then some of the people will have a chance to interact more with them, and mhm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's so much fun. I love doing it, and it's changed my life significantly. And that's my next question for you. What's happened this last year that has, because of MUFON, that has changed you in a significant way? Anything stand out to you? Anything happen to you
Uh,
personally?
Besides becoming older and wiser, no.
Ah,
Oh, well,
oh
it's just
dear.
that there is a lot to do, and it's just trying to balance out what needs to be done, and also working closely with our key leadership. David McDonald, for example, is our director of international, our, our in international affairs. There, he has a direct title in both. My good friend Chuck Reaver, who was my assistant director at the time and chief investigator, he was the director of investigations for MUFON. He was the number two man. So here he was
Wow.
our Northern California guy, and then he got promoted up the ranks. A really hardworking gentleman who helped rewrote the the MUFON investigator manual, and he's our director of investigations for all the international cases. And so I'm serving more of as a role of an ombudsman, a troubleshooter per se, or more of a resource to our different directors from different countries. So I'm going to be more involved and more busy on the international front. Again, all this is volunteer. We don't get paid for it. The only paid person is, or the only two people that we have that are on a payroll, is our executive director, Jan Harzan, and then our office manager, uh, Marquetta, who from our headquarters. But a lot of our funds come from our dues, our membership dues, and it's growing. And Jan is doing a great job of directing the leadership, as being our working very closely and giving us strong leadership and a direction in terms of funding and working with a variety of different people.
Yeah, yeah, he's doing a great job. So, what's in store for you for 2015 with MUFON? Anything new and exciting? And then we'll talk about your personal stuff. We've just got a few minutes left here. So, I do know we have the big conference coming up in Irvine. You
Yes,
want to talk about
every
that?
year we have a major symposium that normally is rotated at different parts of the United States, and it's going to be back in Irvine, and I believe in July, or early August. I've got to check on the specific dates, and I'm sure once we have the dates set. But they usually bring in a variety of speakers and then a variety of workshops, investigator training, and it's always a great way of networking with all the variety of people that are there, especially other directors.
Cool. I can't wait. I'm hoping that Jan will let me in there to do a broadcast live from the events this year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So anything on a
Oh yeah.
personal level, like the
Oh
Del Rio
yes.
Festival
I'm
coming
going to
up,
be
you want to talk
busy.
about?
Both Noe Torres and I are working very closely with the city of Del Rio. We're putting on the Del Rio UFO Festival toward the end of January, to 23rd, 24th of January. We have Nick Pope. We have Jim Mars, George Norrie. We've got a number of other investigators that are there.
Stanton Friedman's going to be there. Let's see. I'm trying to remember who else. And I might be
Yeah,
there. We'll
and
see. We'll talk
then we
about
have
that
then I
later.
have I'm a speaker at the International UFO Congress. in February.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
and
Yeah, and
so
I'll be there too.
then I'm
Yeah.
I may be working with Noe on another book project. So we have a couple of things that we'll be working on, especially. But so we just finished.
Great. Now, how do they find you guys?
We have
Isn't
our
it
own
Roswell
website,
Books?
roswellbooks.com, and you could see there, and you could look
Excellent.
at. We have the Border Zone, UFOBorderZone.com as well, and that'll take you directly into all our conferences. But if you go to roswellbooks.com, that'll link you to all the interesting activities that we've been involved in.
Great. And finally, because we got about less than a minute left here, I just want to know, what are you doing for New Year's Eve? Because we're time traveling right now.
Just get together with family and friends, enjoy the tamales that my mother has made, and so we're going to have a good time.
Oh, that sounds so good. That sounds wonderful. Well, I just want to really thank you for being on tonight, today, and whatever it is that we're doing here, because like I said, we are time traveling. And I'm really just so happy, Ruben, that you paid attention to me back in 2010 and said, okay, this lady may be a little whacked, but, who knows? She might turn out to be a good asset for MUFON. Who knows?
This woman's going to go places. And we did it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how far we've gone because, as you know, like you said, we're all volunteers here. We're really, we're trying to push MUFON out into the atmosphere so everybody's involved. And I think it's a very special organization. So
thank you.
I'm really happy
all your hard
part
work,
of it.
Lorien.
Well, thank you, Ruben. Okay, folks. Well, we'll have our next guest on here in a few moments.
Bye-bye.
So stay tuned.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin. Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, IRN listeners. This is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called genial. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DREAMNUAGE.com. Simple, raw, organic.
Hello, I'm Pat Ustford, inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com.
EPIC is Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council, the forum for scholars, experts, and those fascinated by and involved in the study of ancient civilizations, conspiracies, cryptozoology, ETs, and UFOs, fringe science, the paranormal, and all manner of extraordinary phenomena. Please join EPIC as we examine the mysteries of the world and beyond on epicvoyagers.com. And for updates on the upcoming interactive video presentations, the latest news and discussion on the EPIC forum, as well as research, investigations, and membership opportunities. Epic Voyages program schedule is on the Inception Radio Network. Thank you for joining us.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's EPICVOYAGERS.com.
Hello, everyone. Lorien Fenton here, host of the California MUFON Radio Show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today. Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton, and I just wanted to let you all know I'm really wishing that you're having a wonderful New Year's Eve tonight. And as I said earlier in the show, we're time traveling right now because my guest for this half-hour segment is Craig Lang. And Craig, I don't know much about you, my friend, and I'm very happy you're here. This is wonderful. How are you going to spend New Year's Eve this year?
Going dancing and partying and listening to a classical concert. Then we're going to go dancing, and then we're going to go partying otherwise,
That's wonderful. Now, I take it you're going dancing with the wife or the
my dear wife.
other.
My dear wife and I are going dancing, and
cool. What kind of dancing do you do?
Probably not much, but if you look at my dance, if you look at how skilled of a dancer I am, probably not much. But ballroom and whatever they happen to be playing.
That's wonderful. That's great. See, that's what I love about MUFON people. It's amazing what they do in their real life. I was just talking. Yeah, very few of us do. But Erica Lukes is a singer, and she was interviewed here on the show. And she's a director out of Utah. And then we have a musician, Jeff Krause, who was interviewed also for the show.
And they're cool characters.
Yeah, and I mean, just about everybody I run into through MUFON has some kind of artistic talent. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. It's very cool. And I used to run a dance company. I was a professional dancer. I was a musician when I was younger, and I was also a potter. So, I threw pots and all kinds of stuff. So I've had a pretty artistic life myself, and I just find it fascinating that so many MUFON people have some kind of proclivity towards that.
I have no musical talent whatsoever, so...
So you could be the exception. Well, anyhow, tell me, how did you get involved with MUFON?
Oh, I've been interested in UFOs and any other kinds of mysteries since the first thing I can remember back, as a wee sprig. I've always been interested in the sky, what's over the next hill, basically. Any kind of mysteries, anomalies, the unexplained has always fascinated the heck out of me. So I've just never been, I've never been restful in that way. And so really when I got done with grad school back in about 95, 96, and that's the MS in my Skype ID as Master of Science, I got done with my master's in software development, actually, totally different
wonderful.
From anything involved in this, like hypnotherapy. So what did I do? I became a hypnotherapist. But they go well together, of course. But
I think they do, actually, and the reason I say that is because I got tricked into using computers back in 1988. And it's been what do they say, a downhill slope ever since, because all I do now is sit in front of a computer.
You've been touched by it. You breathe the air. The change is irreversible.
It is. It's amazing. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't have it. Actually, I would. I'd have a farm and I'd raise goats and I'd read books, but that's That's another story for another day. But, the bottom line is being a computer person and having that kind of interest, I think, goes hand in hand with the UFO scene, because so many of us are, older in the MUFON group. And a lot of them are engineers, a lot of them are computer scientists, a lot of them are artists. I mean, it's very interesting. It's all kind of an interesting twist, and they're very correlated. People don't understand that being a dancer is like being a mathematician, which is very similar to programming a language.
Never quite got that similarity, but
I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how, because when you get on a stage and you're dancing, you've got to remember everything in a sequence. It's almost like binary code for the body.
During most design reviews, it's been quite a tap dance. So.
Yeah, so anyhow, I think they're all interrelated. I really do, because you can't, if you can't think in a logical, like I said, binary fashion, and you couldn't dance on stage. You couldn't get your muscle memory to work or know where you're going to the next thing. It's very much like a computer program. So anyhow, I've correlated them for
so
a very
anyway,
long time.
So then my background, I got involved in MUFON in about 96 when I got out of grad school, and sort of got, a number of different things kind of converged, but, several projects I was working on in the professional world. I worked for a biomedical engineering electronics company. I've worked for biomedical companies for most of my career. And so then I had finished up with a big project at that time and finished up with my master's and had a little bit of spare time. So that's when I ran into Bill McNeff, who's now the chief investigator. He was state director at the time. He told me about the field investigator group and that we actually had a formal field investigation capacity. So I took the test and all that stuff, and we really got a field organization going in Minnesota at about that time. And so that was really when I got deeply involved with it. And I always say that God has a sense of humor, because when there was all these light in the sky cases and, things like that, swamp gas weather balloons and clouds. And then there were what I was getting were these hairy abduction cases, these really, stuffed, going to the wall type of abduction cases, a lot of post-traumatic issues, things like that. And so what I did was, so I ended up, while several other people were investigating light in the sky cases, I ended up getting these, several in a row of these really post-traumatic abduction cases. So I ended up, what all of a sudden I realized is, to really understand this stuff better, I got to come at it as a hypnotist and as a healer. So that's when I went and so I spent a little bit of time, did a little bit of powwow with Deborah Lindemann and Bud Hopkins, David Jacobs. And Deborah's kind of one of my inspirations, I would say. And so I spent some time researching, found a pretty good hypnotherapy school through the National Guild of Hypnotists in Minneapolis, which is the travel was much better than most of them that I had found. Yeah, which was several of them were in California, one was in Florida, one was in New York. And so basically, long story short, I got certified and life has never been the same since.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit later on in the show here. We have a few minutes left. We got some time. So what is your title with MUFON, and what is, like, if I said to you, hey, Craig, what are you doing tonight as your job for MUFON? Are you sitting there typing on the computer? Are you calling people? What do you do?
I do a lot of bureaucracy. I'm state director for Minnesota. So, which involves a certain amount of politics, I guess I'd say, and also primarily, most of the time I spend. I'm also the assistant director for the MUFON abduction research team. And thank God that they offloaded some of that onto, Denise Stoner has picked up a lot of the workload on that, which thank God, because I had to step aside on that otherwise. So, but it's been primarily, trying to get a business going too as a hypnotherapy practice, and I also do some technology development in alternative medicine world. So it's been between that takes care of, and the other 6 hours of the week are yours.
So you get a whole 6 hours of the week to spend with the dog and your kids and the wife, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I tell people all the time, you have no idea how much MUFON can take over your life. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. We have a couple of really super investigators that handle a lot of the cases in the Twin Cities, and it's really, my hat goes off to our chief investigator, Bill McNeff, who has been who's really taken a lot of that workload off the state director's plate.
Oh, good for him. That's wonderful. Yeah. And everybody's very much involved in MUFON. That's why I love doing my radio show for MUFON and promoting MUFON and being a state section director myself and putting on the meetings. I just love doing it because I think, and I say this all the time, Craig, I think it's very important that people get together, and have the camaraderie that MUFON brings.
Oh, definitely.
You may not agree with everything MUFON does politically and organizationally and what have you, but it's not really about that. It's about the people that make up MUFON. I think that's the most important thing here that we're discussing tonight. So, yeah. So anyhow, what happened to you this last year through the whole MUFON organization that was really significant for you, that like blew your mind, or you saw aliens, or you saw a spacecraft crash? I mean, what happened? Anything cool?
Our lives this year have been relatively blissfully ordinary. We haven't had a lot of really wild stuff happen, in the sky. A lot of lights in the sky. We've had, there was a sale somewhere on Chinese lanterns. So we've had a lot of orange globes and a few things like that. A lot of light in the sky cases. And then we've had, a fair number of experiencers that for some reason have more recently been remembering experiences that they've had a long time ago. And there's some theories we could go into on that, which I don't think we have time for right now. But
and I'd love to have you back on my show for a full show, and we'll talk about that, because that fascinates me, Craig. And the reason it fascinates me is because I'm really digging into the whole paradigm of the consciousness connection between humans and aliens. And I tell everybody, the new phase with the whole research, it used to be the UFOs themselves, then it was the alien abduction. Now it's how are they controlling us to the point they do, which they do. If you think about it, they completely have full control of our thoughts and what we do and how we do it. And it's darn right scary, but I find it absolutely
This is a wonderful time for a shameless commercial plug for my book. It's called The Cosmic Bridge, which is exactly about that. The kind of the evolving relationship between the humans and the visitors. It's actually it's about 5 years old now, but it's still
you were ahead of your time.
I wrote it, I published it in 2006, 2007. And so it's still extremely pertinent, and I have not seen anything else that really touches that topic at all. It's what seems to be going on, what the trend is, what the human visitor relationship seems to be. And of course I'm one guy speculating in a vacuum on it. Well, not quite a vacuum, but I'm just one guy speculating on it. And so, but at the same time, it's kind of based on what experiencers have been telling me.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, that's going to be fascinating. I'm going to have to book you for a whole show for my radio, the regular radio show, because this is where I'm going now, Craig. This is really the key point to all of this. Everything we do is leading up to the answers of that. And it will also lead us to the answer of why we can't see them on a regular basis. Because I believe that they're here and they're just like one veil of dimensions over, and we're just not seeing them all the time, whereas they may have the ability to see us continually.
What I'm working on my next art, I write a series for the Minnesota MUFON Journal called the CE4 Corner. That's exactly what I'm working on this time, is in, since I've coming up on 20 years having been involved in MUFON and with the phenomenon, one of the questions I've asked is, so what have we done? What have we accomplished? What have we learned? And so in my article, I'm kind of exploring a little bit of that. And, one of the conclusions I've come up with is that as far as actually finding an answer, we've accomplished almost nothing. And
that is absolutely true.
In terms of asking the right question, I think we've made some tremendous leaps.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Craig, you're the first person I've talked to in a very long time besides Grant Cameron that has said the exact same thing, is that we really haven't gotten anywhere except for being able to build databases and observe after the fact.
But also we found, I think the biggest thing is we've defined the question to ask.
I think so too.
We've asked, where are they from? Who are they? Where are they from? How does their warp drive work and things like that? And to a certain extent, that's still valid. I'm enough of a physics junkie. I love that stuff. But the other question is, what is the fundamental nature? There's a lot that I think when we understand this phenomenon, we'll understand a lot more about the fundamental nature of reality. I think there are some things that we so completely don't understand that the idea of understanding them, the visitors, who they are, why they're here, what they're doing, is so alien literally to us that when we finally begin to understand them, it will involve a complete different understanding of essentially the fundamental nature of reality.
Absolutely. It's, it comes down to, I was telling somebody this the other day, it comes down to quantum physics, basically.
I'm enough of a scientific purist that whenever I hear the word quantum, I kind of, okay, where's this going? But still, at the same time, yes, I think that's probably dead on.
Yes, and it's very intriguing to me that you're heading in that direction as a hypnotherapist.
Well, my undergrad was in physics and electrical engineering, and I'm actually, the other thing I do in all of my spare time is to go back and study a bunch of physics that I had let go of about 30 years ago. My original desire was to be a physicist. And that was back about in the late 70s. And then I kind of let that go and decided I needed to eat. And rather than go tenure track in, academia somewhere, I decided to become an engineer instead, and which the food is a lot better. And so
it is, isn't it?
What that meant is that I put a lot of this stuff I had studied with theoretical physics on the table or on the shelf for about 35 years. And now I'm picking a lot of that stuff off and realize that thinking has changed a wee bit in 35 years. I followed a lot of Jack Sarfati's work and Kip Thorne's work and things like that. And it's been, pretty mind-bending to go back and realize what how the thinking has changed in things like gravity theory, string theory, unification theory, things like that. It's pretty mind-bending.
It is. And thank God for it, though, I got to say, because we needed a paradigm to match up with the alien connection, because we just didn't have it in the 60s, 70s, or the 40s, or whenever they started this whole thing. We just didn't have it. And now we have caught up to a point where I think we're in kindergarten with them. Before, I think we were just infants. We couldn't even fathom what they were doing. Now we have a little glint of trying to understand it all, and a way to
we're beginning to understand a little bit about what it is that we don't understand. It's like more, there's the unknown unknowns, there's the known, and there's the known unknowns. Those the things you don't know that you don't know. And I think we're beginning to, like I said, I think we're beginning to understand what our ignorance is a little bit more.
Yes, I totally agree with you on that. That's absolutely where we're heading. And let me ask you something. I have come to it's a long story, and everybody that listens to my radio show knows that I got involved with the whole mind control and targeted individual community in 2011.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with your background, and I'm not,
Yeah, you know nothing about me, so this is good, because you're a hypnotherapist, so you're just going,
organization. Right.
And I'm very much involved with them, and I put on Mind Control Summit, and I have 3 years under my belt with that event, and it's more in the conspiracy vein.
I avoid that stuff like the plague, but
and I don't blame you.
As a healer, I stay away from that stuff as much as possible.
And you should, and I totally agree with that. But my point to all bringing this up is this. I'm starting to wonder if the alien agenda, the conspiracy theorist and the evil cabal that runs this planet supposedly, and all of those people really aren't in cahoots with each other. Until 2011, I really didn't believe it. I was a JFK assassination junkie. And I love all that. And I helped produce the JFK Assassination Conference, by the way. Okay. But the bottom line to all this is I would never have put them all in the same camp until 2011, when I had an experience that dealt with mind control, but there was a UFO involved in it. So I at that point, my whole paradigm kind of changed. I thought, well, don't exclude them altogether. I don't buy anything, quote unquote, right off what I think I'm seeing. I'm not like that, thank God. And that's one of the reasons that the whole mind control community has embraced me, is because I try to bring science into these very strange, bizarre happenings that are happening to these people. I mean, something's got to be going on, whether it's all in their head or not. It's still happening to them in their head. So, at least I'm giving it that kind of attention. And I think in the UFO community, we've got to be a little more open. And this is just my opinion, Craig. We've got to be a little more open to it may not just be the aliens, or maybe the bottom line is it's all of them.
Yeah.
Maybe they are the guys who killed JFK. Maybe they, there's that whole Maury Island connection to the JFK assassination that Ken Thomas talks about. It is weird stuff, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those things that we just kind of, shove under the carpet for now, because right now I think what we need to do is we need to focus on how we're communicating with them in the first place. And then all the answers to that stuff under the carpet will come forth, in my opinion.
One of the approaches that I've had right now is, there's two ways we could approach this. And one of the things the questions I've always had for the investigation community, especially when it comes to working with experiencers, is what's our objective in working with experiencers? And because I've come at it as a healer, and and which I think is the primary thing we need to do when I get these people calling me that are pretty post-traumatic and things like that. And it's kind of helping the experiencer to get control of their life again. To kind of to try and establish, it's sort of the experiencer in a way, and I think there's multiple levels of interaction with, between humans and the phenomenon. But at least at one stage or one phase, one level of the interaction it's almost like being in an abusive relationship. And the way one of the things that you deal with, there's two things you can do in an abusive relationship. One, get the person out of the relationship or get them out of danger, which we really don't have much capability to do here. And the other one is help to get that kind of that stake in the ground, that spiritual discernment, that metaphysical layer of self-determination.
Absolutely. I was just going to say self-awareness and knowing who you are to stand up for yourself.
So what I tend to do is to help, I tend to do a lot of this with, is the same as dealing with someone like whether mean Uncle John abused them or Ignaz from Zorkon abused them. It makes very little difference as far as, whether the abuser has big black eyes or, baby blues and, and a rod and a switch. But,
Hey, Craig, I hate to do this. I can't believe it. Our time is almost up here. So, this is a fascinating topic, and you sound like a great guy. I'm really glad that my producer, Joe Champion, told me about you, because he said, there's this great guy named Craig. You got to get him on for the special. So thank you so much for being on. Now, how can people get your book?
My book, you can go to my website. It's explorewithhypnosis.com and click on the Cosmic Bridge. My book website is thecosmicbridge.com, and my hypnotherapy website is explorewithhypnosis.com. And I have a lot of self-hypnosis products, like CDs and things like that. And I also, you click on the Cosmic Bridge, and it will take you to my book website. It's actually for sale on Amazon and on Lulu.com, which is I self-published through.
Well, thank you, Craig. Again, thank you so much, and Happy New Year to you and yours. And everybody, stay tuned. We've got more guests coming up here on the special for New Year's Eve 2014 into 2015.
Thank you.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin. Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ. Hello, Ira and listeners. This is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called DreamNuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DreamNuage.com. Simple, raw, organic.
Do you have a smartphone? If so, Inception Radio Network is the best app for you. Available on iTunes, Android, Samsung, and most other app stores. Just search Inception Radio Network. With the app you can listen live, check out podcasts of recent and past shows, view our videos, see what shows are coming up, who the guests are, and, via the chat room, send live questions to those guests. You know it makes sense. Check your app store now. Inception Radio Network. I'll see you there.
Are you looking for a cure for boredom? Never worry. IRN's new interactive website introduces a number of ways to pass time while you listen to your favorite show. Choose anything from the IRN chat lounge, the game lounge, video lounge, or the mood lounge. These fun, exciting features let you chat in real time with fellow listeners, view live skywatches, play daily posted online games, or pick a show based on topic. The choices are endless. Use your time wisely, keeping it all on IRN.
Hello, everyone. Lorien Fenton here, host of the California MUFON Radio Show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Hello, I'm Pat Ustford, inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com.
EPIC is Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council, the forum for scholars, experts, and those fascinated by and involved in the study of ancient civilizations, conspiracies, cryptozoology, ETs, and UFOs, fringe science, the paranormal, and all manner of extraordinary phenomena. Please join EPIC as we examine the mysteries of the world and beyond on epicvoyagers.com. And for updates on the upcoming interactive video presentations, the latest news and discussion on the EPIC forum, as well as research, investigations, and membership opportunities. Epic Voyages program schedule is on the Inception Radio Network. Thank you for joining us.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's epicvoyagers.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We're here on Inception Radio Network. Get your app. It's time. It's 2015. If you don't have it by now, you should. So here we are. We're time traveling to New Year's Eve on 2014 into 2015. And my next guest this evening is Jeff Krause. He is the Southern California MUFON director and a state director. I'm sorry, we got to call you the state director. So, Jeff, how are you this evening?
Well, thank you. And yourself, Lorien?
I'm doing great. I was just telling Erica Lukes from Utah that I had a very strange experience, and I'm going to tell you about this, Jeff, before we get into all this. I was driving up to my MUFON meeting on the 1st of November, and I made a conscious decision, Jeff, that I was going to quit all this. It was going to be the end of it for me, and I was going to go get a real job and become like everybody else out there, right? And that evening, one of the guys said, hey, I got a new night vision goggle. Let's go look at the skies. I said, no, I don't feel like it. And they all talked me into it. So 7 of us went back to the parking lot where we have the meeting. And they're looking up through this thing and night vision goggle. I think it's just one goggle that he had. Uh-huh. And the wife of one of the guys is standing back there with me, and we're just kind of chatting, and I'm like, oh, we're not going to see anything. It's too bright. We're in the city. Are they crazy? Blah, blah, blah. And just as I said that, a giant black triangle UFO appeared over 45 degrees into the horizon, as big as day. And her and I are like screaming, look, look. And everybody's looking through the goggle way up in the sky, thinking that's where it is, right? And it's right there in front of us. So anyhow, so that was the first time I'd ever seen a UFO. And it's so odd to me, Jeff, that I'm standing there and I had made a decision. I'm never doing this again. I'd never seen a UFO in my life. And I was not going to do this. And they appeared that night. So
the universe works that way, though, and it's amazing. The whole field works that way. When you start thinking about the connections and the people you meet and the way things start happening once you start investigating UFOs and you start talking about UFOs, synchronicity steps in and you start making these amazing connections with the universe and other people, and little things like that start happening and make you think, wow, maybe I should be paying attention a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
I love hearing stories like that.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing today if that hadn't happened. I swear to you, I was done. I was over it, So anyhow, well, we're here on our New Year's Eve special. What are you doing New Year's Eve?
Well, I'm going to be making sure that my animals don't freak out from noises from gunfire and fireworks and all that other stuff. And other than that, I'll probably go to bed a little bit early, but I'll be wishing everyone a Happy New Year.
Oh, great.
And just laying low-key at home with everyone.
That's great. So you're going to miss the alien flyover, huh?
Every time I sit out watching, they never show up. So I figure I'll do everyone a favor. I won't look, then they'll show up, okay? I can investigate it afterwards.
Exactly. See, that's great. And where are you located, Jeff? And the other question is, how long have you been a MUFON director and where are you located? So basically, that's number 2 here on the list.
Okay. So I'll start with question number 3. No, actually, I'm in San Luis Obispo, California, which is directly in between Los Angeles and San Francisco, kind of near Morro Bay. And I've been the state director officially since November 2nd. Georgianne Cifarelli stepped down. She was a wonderful state director.
Absolutely.
Served for 3 years, put in a lot of years of hard work for MUFON, and she's loved by everyone. She's one of the best people I've ever met with MUFON, and I miss her dearly. But I've taken over since November, and I've also been running MUFON Tri-County. Mike Barra came down from Seattle, and he was a guest speaker, and we had our first meeting in Los Osos, California. And he gave a wonderful presentation, almost 4 hours long. Afterwards, we had a really nice meal in Morro Bay and got to talk with some of the folks that came to the meeting. So it was really a nice night.
Yeah, I love that. I tell everybody my MUFON meeting day of the month is when I visit with my family, because that's really what it feels like for me. And we have a good time. We have a good meal. We all talk. We have lots to share, lots in common. They talk to our speaker. They talk to each other. It's wonderful. And, it's the same 20, 30, 40 people that always show up, and we have a really good time. We just got through with our annual Northern California Christmas MUFON party. It's called the UFO potluck. And we have...
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we have the Green Alien Gift Exchange at my MUFON Christmas party. And that's where everybody gets to steal kind of like the white elephant. And it's a kick. I mean, we had so much fun this year. It was just a gas. People really enjoy it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You're in Petaluma?
We are in Petaluma. We are.
I've got some of the notices, and I've been thinking of coming up. I'm going to have to come check out one of your meetings. They're on the first Saturday of every month?
They are. They're from 1 to 3 in the afternoon. But to tell you the truth, Jeff, you're going to have to get a hotel room. A lot of my guys do that drive up like an hour away or an hour and a half. They all stay at the Motel 6. And we go to the Denny's near the Motel 6 until about 2 o'clock in the morning, usually.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, cool. I'll keep that in mind, and I will. And that way I can bring my dog, because Motel 6 is dog-friendly.
Oh, excellent.
So
yeah.
great.
No, we'd love to have you. As a matter of fact, if you'd like to come up and be a presenter, we'd love to have you.
That'd be fantastic. I just finished getting 2 presentations polished off, so I have a couple of really good PowerPoint presentations ready to go.
Oh, great.
One kind of follows the theme of my Field Investigators Toolbox blog. And then the other one takes off after a investigation I've been carrying on about a UFO incident here in San Luis Obispo that occurred on July 7th, 1967, and is actually a Project Blue Book case.
Wow,
really
that's awesome. That is so cool. I can't wait. Oh, this is going to be fun. Well, we'll have to talk after the show about that, definitely.
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
Cool. And my first question, and I skipped it, was how you got involved with MUFON in the first place. So how'd that happen?
Well, I've been investigating UFOs for many years on my own. I've been a researcher into many things paranormal and related to UFOs. And there was a crop circle that appeared just before New Year's up in Chular, California. I was the first boots on the ground researcher to get up there and get all the readings and everything. And I worked with Linda Moulton Howe. We put together a 3-part story on it. And it turns out NVIDIA had something to do with the making of the crop circle.
And explain to the audience who NVIDIA is, because I know, because I've been in computers for a very long time, and you know, but they may not.
NVIDIA is a graphics card company. They make some of the best graphics card in the computer industry for gaming and graphics design. And it just so happens that around the time of this crop circle, they were getting ready to launch one of their new premier chips. And it's a CCD chip, which is inside your digital cameras, most of them. And it's supposed to have been a revolutionary quality chip that made graphics so much better and presentation relief phenomenal, blah, blah, blah. But the interesting thing is, in the center of this crop circle was what looked just like a chip in the design. Now, whether that was put there after the circle appeared or how it got there, I don't know. NVIDIA claims the whole crop circle, yet they couldn't get the dimensions right in the presentation when their CEO talked about it. And the video they showed of them making it shows people walking around through the field from a distance, but you can't really see them making it. And to tell you the truth, Lorien, this crop circle was about 320 feet in circumference. A lot of experts looked at this besides me, and it would have taken a team of 9 people, at least 7 or 8 days, maybe longer, to make this design like that, especially with all the precise edges that it was. Some of the stalks were bent 3 to 4 inches off the ground. Sean Randall, who's a very good crop circle researcher. Now, I'm a rookie with crop circles, but she's really a good researcher. She also took samples from it after the design was plowed, mind you.
Wow.
When I got there in the morning, I got samples. I had a security guard go in and get samples for me and get magnetometer readings. And so I had fresh samples. She was able to get some after they plowed the design because they were in a big hurry to cover it up, whatever it was. So her samples and mine, we got together afterwards and examined them and compared them. And they're very striking. They were, from any other crop circle around the world, bona fide crop circles, you could tell because of the elongated cell structure and the way that they're bent. And these matched all those findings. I had higher than normal magnetometer readings. And when I gave my presentation at the MUFON meeting in San Jose last February, one of the members in the audience spoke up and said that he had also gone there and taken Geiger counter readings and had gotten higher than normal radiation readings from it.
Oh, wow.
Well, you know darn well in a farm field, there's not any conduits running under it from phone lines or power lines or anything like that because that field is plowed regularly. So how do you get magnetometer readings that aren't normal and radiation levels that are above background radiation by a significant amount from a hoaxed event? That's the perplexing part of it. I'm more than willing to say NVIDIA made it, except for the fact that before they claimed it, we had good, solid evidence that there's something weird going on there.
Wow. So, this is amazing.
Yeah.
That's just mind-boggling, actually. And, as usual, they all try to play these things down. And some great marketing genius over at NVIDIA said, "Ooh, look, that looks like our chip. Let's get out there and make this a media circus and make some money off of it."
Well, I find that way more probable than the fact that the people that supposedly made it flew over on their own dime from England out of goodwill to help NVIDIA with a promotional campaign and put forward the man hours necessary to do this.
Absolutely.
Now, I sorry, but I don't buy that.
Yeah.
That was too big a feat. There's too much involved in that. And I personally interviewed all the farmhands that worked in that area, neighbors and everything. No one saw anything going on except for one day, a team of people early in the morning out there doing what was described to me as taking readings.
Oh,
so
very interesting.
Yeah. So that's what really, my involvement with that and working with Linda Moulton Howe on that got my interest. And I decided, I've been one of the responsible pillars of the community for years as a rock and roll guitarist. So it's time I got down and did something, really worthwhile and helped solve this mystery, because it's something I've known about ever since I've personally seen craft myself. Those are great stories. I could tell you right there, a whole show on just those. But
well, we'll have you on the show as a guest one of these evenings, because Erica has all kinds of stories too. Erica Lukes from Utah, and I haven't had her on as a guest yet either. So I'm going to have to start getting all you MUFON directors up on the show, because you guys have some amazing stuff going on.
Well, to make a long story short, there's a reason that we're involved, not just me, but others that I've talked to. And generally, it's because we've had a personal experience that deeply touched us.
Absolutely.
You don't get a level of commitment like we have just from a passing interest.
That is so true. And, it has changed my life completely. And I just saw my first UFO on the 1st, but my whole life has been a series of amazing encounters. Is that the best way I can describe it? I'm actually putting a book together. If I can ever get it finished, please, dear God, let me get this thing finished, about all the things that have happened to me. And I think mine are more in the conspiracy and psychic realms, but I realized in 2011 that the aliens or whoever is out there running some of these black op military things that are going on, and I don't even know what they all are yet. I'm still doing a lot of research into it. Are part of this. They're part of something kind of nefarious going on, and that's where I'm kind of looking at it right now. Now, it may change in 3 years. I may go down a completely different path. I don't know. But I'm really focusing on the consciousness connection between aliens and humans, and focusing on all the stories about, for example, I'm just going to tell you quickly about this one. There's 2 women that were abducted, and one says, oh my God, I was with Fabio and I had the best time, and the other one says, I was with Satan and I was being tortured. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, wait a minute. One is having an amazing experience, the other one isn't. And why are the aliens doing that? Why are they giving them that? And even more importantly is, how deep can they get into our consciousness? They can control us to the point where they give us the experience like a drug, like DMT or acid. So how close is that to our physical chemical makeup? I mean, there's so many questions.
Oh, sure.
It's mind-boggling to me that people aren't more interested in that aspect than they are the actual physical craft or the fact that the aliens are here. Stephen Bassett and I have this argument all the time. I see him all the time. And I say to him, Stephen, I love you, man, but disclosure already happened. So what are we beating this bush for?
It's happening a drip at a time. Yeah. If you're waiting for someone to come out on the podium and make a statement, don't hold your breath, please.
Yeah.
No, disclosure's been going on a drip at a time for a while. If you don't believe me, go turn on the History Channel.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay? It's right there in front of you. So yeah, no, those of us that went through the clampdown through the 60s and 70s know that now is like Russian spring. Jesus, it's like, shut up, quit talking about the stuff, will you? Yeah, big difference.
Yeah.
Disclosure is going on right in front of your very face. The fact is, it's the people in power. I think what Steve Bassett wants is he wants the people in power to admit they're not in power, that someone else, this cabal that knows what's really going on with the aliens and everything else are the real masters and the ones in power. I think that's what he's actually looking for, is some kind of admission there. And again, I say, don't hold your breath. Love you, Steve. You know, I know him too, but I don't see anyone coming out and making an announcement. That isn't going to happen. That would be too messy. Think of all the industries that would be instantly questioned, the technologies that would instantly be questioned, all the people that have been profiting. Yeah, it would be very, very messy. It would be good in the long run, but, you know, some of these industries and technologies and things that have been profiting off the technologies that have been back engineered, they're not going to go quietly into the daylight, you know. They're going to go kicking and screaming everywhere they're dragged. So it's going to be messy. It's going to be ugly. But, you know, eventually there's going to be a turning point where some of this information gets out, and it's going to be like the housing bubble when it burst and the Wall Street bubble when it burst. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the alien bubble when it bursts.
I agree with
you. And, you know, it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it will be more of by the time that happens, we'll be 2 or 3 generations down the road, possibly, or even just one. And they'll have said, yeah, I figured they were here all along. It's been in the movies. It's been on TV. They grew up with it. They're not they're a little more non-pulsed as... I
don't know. I think change happens at an exponential rate. And I think we think it might take generations when in reality it's, you know, I talk to my kids and their friends, and they're quite hip to what's going on. And they know every bit as much as I do about the BS that's been perpetrated upon them and the lies that have been told about it. So I think really they're in a better position than we've been all our lives to do something about it and to say, hey, look, enough's enough. Come on, come clean with it.
Oh, really? Okay. So you don't think they'll just sit there and go, oh, yeah, we already knew that. They'll be more active and say, tell us the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally do. Because, you know, the generation that I see, you know, and I'm talking the kids that are now 18, 19 or so, they're well aware of what's going on. They're not happy with it. And they're not just sitting around saying, oh, cool, let's, you know, just ignore it and it'll straighten itself out. I see them getting involved, you know, making statements and talking with each other about these things. So it's a little bit different environment. When I was a kid, you know, these issues weren't even on the plate. You didn't go out in public and talk about UFOs or the government coverage of them or military involvement with extraterrestrials. If you did that, you ended up at some state hospital locked away and nobody ever saw you again.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. You just reminded me of my favorite Thanksgiving story, and I'm going to repeat it because I love it so much. It really says what it was like for me in the 60s. At Thanksgiving dinner when I think I was 17. I thought it was when I was 16 or 15, but I was 17 because I remember 16 was the one that I swore off eating meat. And so I was a vegetarian by the time I was 17 at Thanksgiving and eating broccoli, if I remember correctly. Anyhow, I brought up to everybody, it's a huge Italian family. Everybody's screaming and yelling and talking and yak, yak, yak. And I just said to everybody at the table I was sitting at kind of loudly, let's talk about and I think I said not extraterrestrial. Yeah, I said extraterrestrials. Because back then I was reading science fiction, and I think Arthur C. Clarke and Asimov and all those people were using the word extraterrestrial or other world entities or, you know, something like that. They weren't using aliens. Aliens is a coin that got a phrase that got coined in the 80s and 90s. So
right.
Yeah. So anyhow, I said that let's talk about it, and everybody, I'll never forget this, Jeff. Everybody stopped talking. The room kind of went almost silent. They're all looking at me for the pulse of 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. And then they all turned back to each other and started talking like I didn't exist. And it took me until I was in my 50s to realize they had no understanding of what I was talking about. You know, they talk about how the Spanish Indians did not really see the ships coming from Spain because they'd never seen them before. So they had no reference point as to what
yeah.
the heck was going on. It wasn't part of their culture. And I was the only one in my family reading science fiction at the time. So, yeah. So, you know, in the 60s, no one knew what you were talking about. Now, whether they had experiences or not, I don't know. I don't think so. But maybe my parents had. I think years later, my dad told me that he and my grandmother were driving one night and saw some lights, but that's all he remembered about it. So that tells me they were probably abducted.
Well, my dad was not an emotional person at all. I mean, he didn't yell or scream, raise his voice. He wasn't the person that waved his arms or, you know, got excited about anything. Yet, as a child, I was about 7 or 8 and asking him about UFOs and can't they be real? And you know how kids come back with the "but what if" type reply? No, they cannot. And he got so adamant, red in the face, veins bulging in the neck, so much to the point where it always stuck with me. You know, I think he protests too much. And later I find that he was in, you know, I knew he was in the Navy, but then later I find little things that lead to me thinking that maybe he was OSI. And of course, he put in 40 years with the phone company. He was in charge of changing over crossbar to fiber optics, which, gosh, was there any technology involved in there? And then, you know, I come to find out more investigations I do, you know, everyone looks to the Air Force, you know, and that makes sense, you know, flying saucers fly. But do you know how many records come from the Navy?
Naval intelligence has always been in charge.
In UFO investigations? Yeah, people seem to overlook the Navy and their depth of knowledge. And, you know, the planet is covered by 70% water. So let's see now. If you come here from far away, are you going to go to the 70% chunk or the 30% chunk? Well, I'm going to check out the 70% chunk first, you know. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. They could have free reign of most of the planet without being detected. How much do we know about our own oceans?
We know so little. Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So, I mean, what? You're going to tell me that it's impossible they could have an undersea base? I disagree. It's totally possible. Not only that, it's likely. It's what I would do if I was going to another planet with another species that might detect my presence. I'd go somewhere where I'd have free reign and be undetected. Ta-da! No brainer. So, my understanding that the Navy has quite a bit of knowledge of UFOs and extraterrestrials makes sense.
Absolutely.
It's
wow.
There's nothing out of the ballpark.
Yeah, you know,
there.
that reminds me, you know, I'm supposed to be asking you some poignant questions. We're almost out of time, and I got to ask you anyhow. What have you got in store for 2015 with your MUFON group in your area?
Well, to tell you the truth, where we had our kickoff event was very drafty, and the seats were uncomfortable. So I'm looking for another venue. I was planning on having my next meeting January 11th, but I'm going to wait, and I'm going to put something together in February. And it's going to be a presentation with me. I'm going to be doing a presentation on the slow UFO, but I'm going to have a much better venue that'll have more seating, better lighting, and it should be a lot more comfortable environment for everyone to come.
Great.
So not only that, but I'm really looking forward to the symposium coming up. We're having that in Irvine this year, and it's going to be my first one. I've never attended a symposium before, so I'm really looking forward to this one.
Oh, wow, wonderful. Well, I'm planning on being there, and my hope is that I'll be doing some live broadcasting, so we'll have to corral you down in the chair for, 20 or 30 minutes, and get your interview on record about what you think of the symposium and what kind of, what you're doing there and what kind of fun you're having and who you met and what you're up to, basically what you're having for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as I tell everybody there. So, it'll be a lot of fun. So, well, hey, Jeff, I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight, and and we'll have you back as a full evening guest at some point. And so, very good. And again, have a great New Year's Eve and have lots of fun in our little time travel adventure here.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Great.
All
Thank
your
you.
listeners.
Good night.